is literally in the middle of nowhere, and what we're finding here is they're calling a deep sea obelisk. Now this thing is really interesting. This is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This is actually an obelisk, probably, I don't know, natural made. Who knows how this thing was created, but it's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which is flat all around here, and there's this obelisk that sticks up about 1,300 feet into. This is really bizarre. It is literally just this obelisk sticking up in the middle of this flat ocean bottom. But what makes it interesting, when I see something like this, I want to say, okay, is this thing connected to other obelisks in our area, Rochester, Webster, New York, especially the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, site of Joseph Smith meeting the angel Moroni. So that's one thing that I'm always curious about. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from this deep sea obelisk, and who knows how this thing was created, natural, man-made, alien-made, you know, ancient, freaking Sumerian, Anunnaki, who knows. But we're going to go to the obelisk in New York City, Manhattan, Central Park. That this is an original obelisk that was built for Ramses the Pharaoh 3,500 years ago. This was in Egypt, and they brought it here to the United States and put it here in Manhattan Central Park in the 1880s, I believe that was. So I know that this obelisk is connected by mileage to the obelisk on Hill Cumorah. So I'm interested in is there any funky number pattern connecting that deep sea obelisk to this one, Ramses? And here we see in arc seconds, and this is fascinating because an arc second is a very tiny, pretty small number. And from the deep sea obelisk to the Ramses obelisk, 3,500 years old, you can see in arc seconds, it's 3,6. You see it right there, 363636.36. Wow. And you know, if you add up all those numbers, all those 3s and 6s, guess what? It adds up to 36. So, this is fascinating stuff because all these obelisks are connected like this with funky number patterns. But to have one in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, that who knows, I mean, how could it possibly have got there? You know, whether it's natural, man-made, or whatever, but having it connected to this obelisk by that kind of number, and this thing was put here in the 1880s, how can you tell me, how did they know the obelisk in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean was there in the 1880s? Do you see where I'm going with this? There is such ancient technology being hoarded from us that it's absolutely incredible. But this is going to get even more incredible because I'm going to show you that this obelisk is connected to the one in Palmyra, New York, in our backyard of Webster, New York, where I live, in the Rochester, New York, Monroe County, Wayne County area. Okay, this is a distance marker from the Ramses obelisk in Manhattan to the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, which will go focus in on Hill Cumorah. And this is the obelisk on Hill Cumorah. And as you can see, (227.7 miles. And what's important here is the 22 and the double digits after that 77. I have other videos on my channel you can look at that show that this obelisk on Hill Cumorah is at a 22 mile distance from many things, including William Spengler's house, site of the Christmas Eve shooting. It's 22 miles from the War Memorial, 22.11 miles from the Monroe County Courthouse, 22.13 miles from the Monroe County Prison, 22.22 miles from North Church on Hudson Avenue, 22.66 miles from St. Stanislaus Church, I believe it's called, on Hudson Avenue. That means that that obelisk of Ramses is connected to this obelisk in Hill Cumorah, because this thing is all about the number 22. And again, you can see my other video called Webster Obelisk and the alignment with Sandy Hook and more about all the 22s involved in this. Okay, I showed you from that deep sea obelisk to the obelisk of Ramses up to the Mormon obelisk on Hill Cumorah. Now I'm going to work backwards from the Mormon tabernacle, which obviously is associated with Hill Cumorah. But I'm going to work backwards and show you that the Mormon tabernacle is connected to a pentagram, and there's the Mormon tabernacle, just to show you that there's a distance marker right in the middle. That's dead center of the Mormon tabernacle. Now we're going to Kazakhstan, which is near Russia. A lot of weird stuff going on in Kazakhstan, but this is one of them. This is a pentagram in Kazakhstan. This pentagram is 666 feet in radius. This pentagram is 666 feet above sea level, above sea level, and you can see where that cursor is in the middle of that pentagram. So this pentagram is all about 666, and it's connected to the Mormon tabernacle by a distance of 6,000.06 miles. And I did this in feet just to let you know, and I converted it back to miles, and it came out to be 6,000.066 miles, or, you know, drop the zeros and decimal point as they're not in numerology, and it's 666. So this thing is just all about 666. So knowing that the Mormon tabernacle was connected to this by a mileage, now I want to find out if that deep sea obelisk is connected to this, because if it is, then that deep sea obelisk is connected to the Hill Cumorah obelisk in two different ways, through the Ramses obelisk and through this pentagram through the Mormon tabernacle. So now we're going to work from here to the deep water obelisk, and we're going to see what numbers we get from that. And then we're going to go to the Mormon tabernacle, the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, and see if any numbers that we see here are going to match anything we get off the obelisk on Hill Cumorah. Here is Kazakhstan, the pentagram. Here is the deep sea obelisk, halfway around the world in the middle of the ocean. You saw it connected to that pentagram. Let's go back to this deep sea obelisk. This thing is really cool. And here we are. Check out this distance from that pentagram to this deep sea obelisk. Now remember what it was from the Mormon tabernacle. And here you have 16,616.66 kilometers. Now again, this is in kilometers, but check out those numbers. 166.66. Now I want you to focus in for the next thing I'm going to show you on those last four numbers right there. 16.66, okay? 16.66. Okay, now we're going to my hometown of Webster, New York. But we are going to start at the obelisk on Hill Cumorah. And I put a blue distance marker right on that obelisk. Okay. And we are going to State Road School, where I went to school, kindergarten through 6th grade, back in the 1960s into, I don't know, I think it was actually 1970 I got done here. But we're going to put a distance marker here. We're going to do this in miles. And what are we going to find? Oh my. What were the last numbers in that distance between the deep sea obelisk and the pentagram? I believe they were 16.66. Do you see the 666 there? Wow. Okay, that's State Road School in Webster, New York, the school I went to. So, you know, it got me wondering, what other schools in Webster up to? So, let's get rid of this, send this back. And we are going to Clem Road School. There's the distance marker on Clem Road School. And we have, oh my, 16.66. We got the 666 again. Same last four digits as the deep sea obelisk to the pentagram connected to the Mormon tabernacle, which was, you know, obviously the Mormons on Hill Cumorah. So let's see what else we might have. We'll put it at R.L. Thomas and Willink. This is Willink here. This is R.L. Thomas High School. And we have, 16.66 nautical miles. There's that 666 again. You know, I'm thinking here, what are all our schools in Webster connected to a 666 to a pentagram that's 666 all about it, 666 feet above sea level, 666 feet in radius. So we'll go over to the high school I went to, H.W. Schrader High School. We'll pop a marker in here somewhere and see where we're at. Schrader, you know what? I think Schrader's just going to come up with all the 1s and 6 combinations. So let's see the first one. The first one is 16 miles. And we got 16.06 miles. And we'll move this just to the road in front, which is just a little bit off the property. Just in front of it. And we have the 16.16. So this one didn't hit the 1666, but boy, it had 1s and 6s in it.